What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is Asa Studio. Today it's another retouching tutorial in Capture One, and this time around we're using Capture One version 23. So if you're still on the old Capture One 22, you can actually upgrade because the new features I'm going to be using it in this tutorial. Alright, so if you haven't, actually go and upgrade and come back to the tutorial. Okay, for those of you that are using Capture One 23, let's get started with what to do. Now we want to make this picture look awesome. Okay, so let's start with the first feature, which is under the white balance. Everything has actually been added in one lane, and you don't have to start going different going to different tab to locate what you want to use. All right, so let's start with the white balance, and I'm going to click. Let's just start with the eyeball, and then boom, so we have this yellow fill, and you can turn up the before and after. You can see the before and after. Okay, so now I would like to get things look the way I actually like, and I can see some yellows and the rest of, but let's create a layer for it. So under the layer, the new feature that I've been added is just the new hue layer, the move background layer. The clone layer is already there, but let's go to the new adjustment layer first of all, and now I can click on the magic brush tool. The new things that are also be added is the magic eraser tool. So I'm going to select the skin, and it's going to select everything for me. So hit M on the keyboard and you see that it's actually selected. I'm also going to select most part that have not been selected, and also this part, and boom. So now that we have that, let's go back. We can click on the magic eraser tool and make it smaller, and we're going to remove it from where we don't want it in the eyeball. So make it smaller and click on it, and it's going to remove it from there automatically, like that and like that. So I'm going to remove it from the lips too, remove it from this side, remove it from this side. Okay, so we have that. Now since we have that, let's hit M on the keyboard and see if that's the reskin that actually be selected. Let's go back, select this one, and it's going to add it back. Well, let's just leave it like that, and let's go with edit. Now before, we're going to go to the color tab, which is on the top, but now the color tab has been and the exposure tab has been grouped together. All right, so you can see the color editor down here, and toggling M will hide and show the mask, hitting M on the keyboard. All right, so I'm going to go to the skin tone, and I'm going to pick the slider. All these are just the same, nothing has been changed. So I'm going to choose a place I want all the skin tone to look like, but I see that this cheek is actually wow fresh. So I'm going to choose this side, and you can see how it has been selected. I'm going to drag it out, and now zoom out, increase the hue of to make the skin look alike. So if you take it to the extreme end, it's just going to look the same. So I'm going to leave it at the extreme end, or just let's make things look natural. 97, that's bit. I'm going to increase the saturation to blend the saturations together, so something like that looks okay for me. I'm not going to touch the lightness, because if you touch the light, it's going to look flat. So this is what I'm talking about. So increase it so the image is looking flat, not looking real at all. Sometimes I don't even touch that, but let's just take it up a little. All right, I'm going to take it up a little. Then now this is it. This is a fair, it's actually not too fair, just chocolate, but I like taking it to the front like this, and it adds some yellow. But if you take it back, it adds some black, red, and this one, I think this one looks fine to me, unlike this one that looks so yellow. I don't want that, so I take it to the back, and not too much, and we can increase the saturation once again, and to bring out the skin color the more. So we can actually check out the before and after. You can see the red and all of that has been fixed. Okay, so now I'm going to hit M on the keyboard, and then go to where the mask is under the layer, just before the layer doesn't close, but now in this version the layer closes. I'm just going to zoom in and decrease the size of that brush, and I'm going to erase it. Sorry, eraser, not the magic eraser this time. And I'm going to erase it from the lips, something like that. Okay, so just for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to be fast about it. Then you can right click, and then you can decrease the opacity and the hardness. I'm going to take it down, and I'm just going to do that faster, and that's that. So it's M back on the keyboard. All right, so now we have this. The next thing I'm going to do is to select the hair. So create another adjustment layer. You can keep renaming this one. I'm going to rename this one skin, Okay, Control A to that, SKIN. Oh, come on, let's rename it back, SKIN, skin, enter. All right, so I'm going to create another one, new adjustment, empty adjustment layer, and this time around I'm going to select with the magic brush, select the background, not the background, the air rather, sorry. So let's hit M on the keyboard and let's see where it's actually selected, and you can see that I'm selecting a lot of places just to get what I want. Keep selecting and keep selecting, it's just going to, just add it to it. And sometimes it won't select unless you increase the tolerance, and sometimes increasing the tolerance make things easy for you to select. Okay, so I'm going to decrease it back in case of the next selection, and this one I'm going to name it air, HAIR, air. Now hit M on the keyboard, what I want to do is to decrease the saturation, so that will be under the exposure, and the saturation is going to make it look black, so you can take it all the way down. And to create more contrast, go to the high dynamic range and decrease the blacks, and it's going to make it more darker. And you can increase the shadows if you want to take it bright, but I think that's not what I want to achieve, so I want it darker, so something like that. And I can increase the white and increase the highlights, so to have more of the dimension of a thing. And so all right, so now the next thing to do is to work on the background. I'm going to create a new empty layer and close it up. Let's go to the layer, new adjustment layer. I'm going to name this one background, hit enter. And we're not yet done with the image itself, so let's just work on just little things. I'm going to select the background, select this one, hit M on the keyboard, and you see the background has been selected. Okay, I'm going to take to the top, select that place, select somewhere here, select there, and just keep it cool with it. Okay, so I'm going to remove it from this one. Just click and it's going to remove it. Let's see and try and add it again. Let's this time around decrease the tolerance and the refine edge, and then make a selection, and that's boom. So take the eraser tool, erase it from where you don't want it, like this. I don't want it on a finger, so I don't want it on the shirt over here. All right, so now let's hit M backwards and decrease. I like to decrease the saturation, but sometimes we can increase the saturation if you want it more bluish. But one thing I want to do is to decrease the brightness, and this just actually brings the subject forward from the background. Okay, so just deep. You can also decrease the exposure, but not too much, just a little bit, and bring back the saturation. If you take it back, it's going to turn it to black and white. I still want to reserve those colors. And now we can go to the high dynamic range and bring back all this, decrease the blackness, highlight back all the way back, and the white back too. So something like this to bring the subject out of the background. All right, so this looks cool to me. Bring this one up a little bit, and we can see before and after. So it's actually brought out the subject from the background. Okay, so now I want to work on the lips, so let's create another new empty layer, and this time around I'm going to select the magic brush and let's click on the lips. It's going to make a selection of the lips, and that's enough. So what we just want to do is just to increase the saturation and make it look like this, to look real. If it doesn't look real, just decrease it a bit. Okay, so now I want to work on the face again, and this time around we're going to this, sorry for that. So like I said, back to the skin, and let's work on the dynamic. This is the skin, you can see. So let's go to the high dynamic, and I want to bring back the shadows. Okay, increase the shadows just because of this side, and increase the dark. It's not actually affecting any of the theme though. So since it's not actually affecting, let's see what's wrong. Oh, that place is not actually selected, so I'm going to select it with the mask, and okay, that's eraser mask with this one, and then I'm going to select, increase it, and let's select it too. so it affects the shadows. Okay, all right, so it's back on the keyboard, and now let's see if it affects. Yeah, it affects now. Okay, so we can bring up the shadows and then take back the blacks a little, but let's just bring up the two the same. All right, so now I want to make the highlights pop out the more, but it's actually, let's turn on the exposure warning. It's too exposed, so let's bring it down till we get none, and let's bring up the white we still have. So I'm going to bring it down to where we can't where we won't have exposure warning anymore. So this looks fine, and we bring it down a little bit, the exposure warning. Okay, so this looks okay for me. So we can actually see our before and then our after, where the exposure has been fixed. Okay, so let's take it up a little and not lose everything. At least small should be allowed. Okay, so now that we have that done, we're almost through. Now the new feature that we added, the new heal layer, and this actually allows you to do some healing using of the healing tool brush. So you can see that automatically selected this one. So I'm going to decrease the brush, and I'm going to zoom into where we have rashes. And one good thing about Capture One, it's going to actually select a place that looks like that. So but in case of making selections and you have so many of these arrows, you can right click and say hide arrow. So this one, click it off, and you have that. Boom. All right, so let's keep on adjusting where we feel like. I'm just gonna click on some certain places, and it's gonna fix a lot of things for us, like that, and like that. Okay, so this just small things we need to fix in the photo. All right, so that's that, and I'm gonna create another layer, which is the new fill adjustment layer. And in this layer, I'm going to work on the full image itself. All right, so let's go to the curves, and this time around we're going to create an X curve. So take this up and take this down. Let's take it down to create contrast like this. So we can actually decrease the opacity of that layer, and we can turn it on and off so you can see what's actually added to it. Okay, so that's that. So if that's okay, we can go to the new feature that has been added, the refine. There's so many things that have been added, so we can change the focus of the face and just to bring it back so we can see what we're doing. Now let's go to the sharpening tab, and I'm just going to add some sharpening to make the image. Let's turn off the exposure warning, and we have that. So sharpening amount, and you can see how it actually make the image stand out. So you can increase the threshold, and it's not going to make it look at halo suppression. So if you have some halos, you can actually increase it as you suppress it. That's a new feature that also been added. Okay, so noise reduction, we all know what that is. It's actually going to make the image look like a blur. And the purple, the fringe, there's no purple in the image. If there is any purple, the fringe, you can see that you can see to it by adjusting this one, but there is none. You can see spot remover, no one uses the spot remover. So this is how I'm going to actually edit the photo. So if you see that is not what you want, you can actually go back and edit and do some other stuff. So but this time around, let's create another adjustment layer, which is the new fill adjustment layer, and we can work differently with the color grading. I like sometimes pushing this forward just to give it a yellow feel like that, and I can go back to the exposure and then add some saturation, something like that, and close it. All right, so what else can we do? High dynamic range, we can increase the highlight, and we can go back to the background and decrease the highlight too, something like that. Yes, I like it like that. So it brings out the image, bring back the white, and boom, so we are done. So apart from the eyes that is not actually white, we can actually make a selection of that. Let's quickly fix that. Create a new adjustment layer, and this one I can name it eyes, EYES, enter, and select with the magic brush to the eyes. And you know, while we're making the selection, now what we want to do is to desaturate the eyes. Okay, so that's selected, 1 and 2. Okay, so I don't want to select the top part, so I'm going to use the eraser tool, and I'm going to make it smaller and remove it from the side like that. I just want it on the eyes only, so you can do a perfect job. For the sake of the tutorial, I'm going to leave it like that. Now we all know it's a red eye. Yeah, we know. Okay, so hit M on the keyboard and then go to the exposure, same thing, the saturate, and it's gonna make it, you know, white, but don't do that to the extreme like that. So assuming we're in capture one, I would have used the liquify tool to actually adjust the position of the head or the deformity. Okay, so the brightness on the lips, it's actually good for me. All right, so this is where I'm going to stop the video. Let's take a look at the before and then the after. So this is our before, and then this is our after. This is our before, and then this is our after. So if you like the video, kindly, you know, share, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. See you in the next video with capture one. Thank you for staying with us, and thank you for watching.